What is going on, Jerome's? It's a beautiful Wednesday. Birds are chirping and stuff. Fired up, and talking about Kirk Cousins again, right? So I understand some people may be like, "Oh, why you keep talking about Kirk, bro?" But it's the most important position in all of team sports, and the Vikings may have a very interesting decision this offseason. Maybe Kirk is back. Maybe the Vikings draft their quarterback of the future. Maybe they do both at the same time, man. But also, Kirk Cousins, it's been good times here since Kevin O'Connell came aboard. Kirk, before he got hurt, was playing at an MVP-adjacent level. I still firmly believe, because it's Schrodinger's Kirk, that if Kirk doesn't pop his Achilles on the garbage-ass grass at Lambeau Field, we don't hear about the Lions. I still think that the Vikings win the division with Kirk under center, as opposed to the gong show of the passionate Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins. So it is what it is. But Kirk is adorkable, like he's the world's dad, and with arms wide open under the sunlight, right? And the pride of Michigan State. He's talked a big game about, hey, getting things back here, maybe taking a hometown discount, keeping the band together, and running it back with the Vikings. But also, there's going to be opportunities for the Tin Pot Pizza Ranch dictator to potentially cash in. You look at the Raiders, look at the Falcons, look at the Dolphins. Maybe you never know. Maybe look at the at the 49ers. Depending on what happens this weekend with Brock Purdy. But could the Tin Pot Pizza Ranch dictator be delivered somewhere else? It's a non-zero chance because Tramps like him, baby, he is born to run away. But if Kirk does leave in free agency, it does create a power vacuum with the Vikings. So here are ocho reasons why Kirk leaving the Vikings could actually be good long-term for the team. Reason number one, it rips off the BandAid. And it feels like the Vikings and Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell ownership have been trying to be half pregnant during this competitive rebuild, where frankly they've succeeded. If the team didn't have a myriad of injuries, the Vikings probably would have been in the playoff places, probably would have been competitive for the division this year. Obviously 2 years ago, 13-4, wanting some more. So in that regard, they've been successful, and the Vikings shedding themselves of veteran contracts, freeing up cap space not only for this year but also for the future. They're in pretty good shape, right? But now, they were going to have to figure something out after Kirk Cousins at some point anyway. Kirk is 35 right now. He's going to be 36 in August heading into next season. And even though Kirk subscribes to like a Tom Brady adjacent diet and workout regimen, and he's ripped and he takes care of himself, and maybe he eats the avocado ice cream. I don't know. Who knows? But are you willing to wager that he'll maintain a high level of play through age 45 like Tom Brady? You look at 8, 9, 10 years? Probably not. Although you do have to respect, I feel like Kirk doesn't get enough credit because you look at quarterbacks who are also in the 34, 35, 36 range. You look at Russell Wilson. You look at Tannehill, where Kirk and his level of play has stayed steady, where the other guys. But this Kirk Cousins could actually benefit the Vikings by forcing their hand, because if he just straight up leaves the free agency, they don't have any recourse. They don't get any trade comp. Kirk Cousins, even though he's got a voided contract, he does count into the compensation pick formula. So the Vikings will get a third in 2025. But that's it. But number two, it would force the Vikings to draft the quarterback of the future, because if Kirk leaves, I'm not interested in, hey, Russell Wilson. I'm not interested in, hey, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in another Donovan McNabb type BandAid situation. No, it's like, hey, if Kirk leaves, hard reset. Like, completely push down the button and move all in for your quarterback of the future. And it's also kind of weird, too. Like, half the fan base doesn't trust Kwesi, but they want him to move up for the quarterback, and they trust him to take the quarterback. It's like, I trust him, but also I don't really trust him. But either way, it's imperative, and whether it's moving all the way up for one of the top three guys, if it's settling for Penix or Nix or McCarthy at 11, either way, you need to find your guy under center. Number three, you get clarity with Justin Jefferson, where I think JJ has made it pretty clear that he does have an affinity for Kirk Cousins. Obviously, he isn't throwing the ball to himself through the first 4 years of his career. But JJ has to know, too, is like, hey, if he's going to be here long-term, Kirk probably isn't going to be. Kirk, even though he takes care of himself and is good to go, he is probably only got 2, 3, maybe 4 quality seasons left in his career. And JJ obviously has 12 plus 10, 12 plus seasons. So basically we're gonna find out if JJ is bluffing or not. Like, if Kirk leaves in free agency, does that impede JJ extending long term here with the Vikings? Is it a spot where JJ is going to force the team's hand? Like, maybe he is ride or die with Kirk. Maybe he doesn't like who the Vikings pick up as their quarterback of the future. Either way, I mean, the Vikings will get clarity if JJ is going to be here or against his will, or if he is going to be forcing a trade, and the Vikings will figure things out. It's like, hey, do we have to trade Jefferson? Like, I would advise against it. He is the face of the franchise. Keeping him happy is priority one. But if he's not going to be happy if Kirk leaves under no fault of the Vikings, man. All right, so Kirk leaving and then you trade JJ, man. Next up, number 4, you're going to prove if Kevin O'Connell is the guy. Now, KOC gets a lot of credit for 13-4, wanting some more, as well as Kirk playing at a high level this season before he popped his Achilles. And, I mean, Kevin O'Connell, I mean, he's known as Tall McVay, but now it's sink or swim. Like, he needs to prove that he can groom another future franchise quarterback. He needs to prove that he's the dude. Now, didn't get it done with Kellen Mond. Obviously didn't draft him. Jaron Hall looked kind of spotty as well. Nick Mullins, respect. I mean, he played well in a couple of games. But if the Vikings move all the way up and take a top 3 quarterback, or they take a first-round quarterback, Kevin O'Connell's got to prove that he can be that offensive-minded guru that he was sold to us as, right? That he was sold to ownership as well. And is he actually a dude who's going to be very successful as a high-level offensive play caller, offensive mind, and a head coach? Or was he propped up by the quality play of Kirk Cousins? Or was it a spot where Kirk was made better by Kevin O'Connell? Kevin O'Connell was made better by Kirk Cousins. Both things could be true. Number 5, it's a referendum on the current regime. And ownership loves Kirk Cousins. They signed off on him when the Vikings inked him up in 2018 to that record 3-year, $84 million fully guaranteed deal. They signed off on the subsequent extensions. And also, Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, when they came in, it would have been their prerogative to get rid of Kirk, not re-sign him, trade him, and then start anew. But they hitched their wagons to Kirk Cousins as well. Now, if Kirk leaves, just straight up leaves, I mean, could that be a demerit on the franchise? The ownership, GM, head coach? Maybe. Especially if they can't find the next guy, or the next guy that they pick ain't poop. Next up, number 6. Frees up future cap space. Now, yes, $28.5 million void year cap hits do come home to roost, but you have to weather that for one season. And say you sign a bridge quarterback for a couple $1,000,000, or maybe Mullins is in there as well, and you move up and you find your future franchise quarterback. Like, even if it's a top 3 pick, he's still on his rookie deal. So the cap hit's going to be whatever. And you weather the storm for 1 year, and then you're free and clear from Kirk's hits after one season, and then you go from there. And if the Vikings did re-sign Kirk, you would have that 28.5 still prorated over 4 years because of the void years. But also, Kirk would be down for a discount, but also a discount might still be $30 million when his market value is probably 45, right? But so you still have to take that into account. So if Kirk does leave and you have your starting quarterback on his rookie deal, that could free up some more money. Maybe you make a run at Chris Jones. Maybe you make a run at Christian Wilkins. Maybe you make a run at L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Johnson, etc. Next up, number 7. Is good the enemy of great? And when Kirk Cousins got here, we called a spade a spade. I did not think that he played very well throughout his first 2.5 seasons, outside of the game-winning touchdown drive against the Saints that walk hard around. Woo. Right. But people will be quick to point out Kirk Cousins only has 1 career playoff win. Although, the whole thing with the Giants, if you go back and watch Kirk, he had a pretty damn good game, man. You think that, being a part of, 3-4 touchdowns, as well as having a quarterback rating above 100, as well as not being on defense when they gave up 431 and 31 points to Daniel frickin' Jones, that, that should be good enough to win. But I digress there. People will be like, well, CJ Stroud has already won a playoff game. Cool. Awesome. But Kirk is good. But is it a spot where you're holding on to good because you're afraid of what's behind door number 2. And don't let good be the enemy of great, is what we always say here. I do personally believe that Kirk Cousins could be great. I think that he was on a path to being great this year before he got hurt. But also, you have a 36-year-old quarterback who's coming off a very serious injury. Is he going to max out on his potential with Kevin O'Connell and this group? Don't know. It's like staying in a relationship where it's like, I mean, this could be better. This could be a lot worse, and you stay in it because you're afraid of being single, or you're afraid of playing Go Fish and just picking from the discard pile. But then the person makes the decision easy for you and gets hit by a bus or something. I don't know. That escalated quickly, but it could be a similar situation to that. Lastly, number 8. It puts a lot of stress on the haters and the losers. So now there are a lot of Kirk Cousins haters. There's a lot of Kirk Cousins distractors. There's a lot of them within the Vikings fan base, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But could you imagine like the discourse amongst Vikings fans? Like if Kirk Cousins goes out to Atlanta, surrounded by those weapons, maybe Belichick is there, or goes to San Francisco if they decide to sit Purdy down, just like they were trying to do with Tom Brady last offseason, or hell, maybe Miami punts on Tua and they bring in Kirk Cousins, or the Raiders and Antonio Pierce really get things going. And say Kirk Cousins plays exceedingly well. Maybe he rips off a MVP type season, which he would have been on this year if he hadn't gotten hurt. And it's like Rich Gannon. I mean, Rich Gannon won the NFL MVP, I believe, at 38 back in 2002. But say Kirk Cousins puts together an amazing season, captures the hearts and minds of the National Football fans, and maybe wins a Super Bowl. Like, could you imagine? Like, could you imagine things? Plus, Dios mío, knocking on all the wood. Hopefully this doesn't happen. What if Kirk just leaves, wins a Super Bowl with his new team, and the Vikings trade up heaven and earth for a quarterback and he busts? Again, don't you put that evil on my Ricky Bobby, but I mean, you have to accept reality on reality's terms. I mean, it's a non-zero chance, but could you just imagine the fallout amongst the fan base, who are very good at taking things well? I don't know, man. I don't know, but like I said, there are so many things up in the air this offseason. Could Kirk be back? Could he not be? Could he be back at a discount? Could he not be? How does this affect Justin Jefferson? How does this affect the Vikings in the draft? There are a lot of dominoes to fall, and they're going to fall relatively quickly as we hurtle towards Kirk's contract being voided coming up in March. But your thoughts are thoughts. 8 reasons why Kirk Cousins leaving the Vikings could actually be good for the team. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.